Well, here we are playing Origins. Blue went, grabbed itself an exclamation point. It's getting closer to entering that second era. Now, when they enter, they're in a dark age and they will lose these cards, sort of, which will kind of suck. However, white, on its last move, moved close enough that blue could come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a population action, attacking. Neither one has metallurgy, so white has just been enslaved. Terrible. And now I gotta figure out what that means. People warned me I would end up getting someone enslaved. I'll come back after I find where in the rules that's covered. So this enslavement is not a terrible effect. The footprint infrastructure is equalized. Whoever has the higher, the other one will share it, and the enslaver is put on top. That's one way of marking this. The enslaved country cannot do a number of actions: domestication, revolution, trade, naturalist, urbanization, or Sabine rage. But I haven't been doing a lot of that at this point. But here's the problem. Blue has to enter into a chaos period, and when they do, some of their territories will be taken over by white. And then the enslavement ends. So, isn't it an advantage, maybe a tiny one, for knocking someone who's a competitor out temporarily in terms of board presence? They also can do acculturation on one another. However, only the enslaver can take the slave culture as elders, even if their culture value is equal. Which means, if I had another action under the population actions, I could take this dude and put him over on my tray. Of course, if the enslavement ends, they go back. So I'm not sure how valuable it is to spend an action to do that unless I have nothing better to do at this point. Alright, well, go on to green, who's already in a dark age in stage 2. How does he get out of the dark age? Well, I think his way is to get... There's a couple of ways. But he has to get... it's an enter golden age option under innovation here. He has to have certain specific traits, though. He has to have level 1 in energy draft animals, and he has to have child swaddling. Once he has those, he can take the action to enter a golden age. What's the advantage of a golden age? Not much. He gets to turn up cards from these stacks, which are just really victory point cards as far as I see. Well, no, they have some effects. So, for example, he's allowed to hold more cards because of it. And he's allowed to add to his stability roll. And here, it affects the acculturation. So, yeah, there's some value to having these cards, I guess. All right. So on to green. Let's see what he can do. He's doing quite well over here on the board with 3 whole tokens. And seeing what he saw as the best move, he grabbed a raft and managed to actually move up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is one shared space, so that he's in North America now. There's a lot to expand into his own little world. Hey, why not? Alright, on to black. So black made it up to level 2, but I realized I lied with on red's turn. Making it to this kind of advance doesn't put you into chaos, so it doesn't flip one of these. So red is now at level 2 as well, and they're going to get to do a population action they don't have a lot going for them right now. But they can't make it to that tundra. I'm not sure that there's anywhere they can go that'll help them. One. This is hosed. Yeah, I don't see a space that they're free to get to. But they can do acculturation, but they can't hold an extra person. So they're kind of at this, I'm hosed, I can't grow anything right now. They could do an attack. That seems worthwhile. It's always worth attacking. And they'll take out a blue piece down here because blue still doesn't have metallurgy either. And, you know, might as well do something, right? And we finished up with white, who's not on the board, but they can still advance into their own little dark age. And now they're actually more technologically advanced in their way than their conquerors are. But that'll be fixed pretty soon. So blue just made their way into Era 2. Everyone's there. They moved back into the location they were in before. There's going to be constant fight over it unless red finds some place they can expand to. Come to green, and now a question comes to mind, which is green would kind of like to pick up an elder. However, the only elder that's available for free requires a hand and an acorn. Well, I'm not sure they have those anymore. I'm going to make a quick decision that they do, but that's not obvious in the rules, whether or not they can still draw these level 1 cards and use them for any advantage. I think it only makes sense that they can, so that's what they're going to do. Pick this up. They only have one action, and we'll take an innovator there. I think an elder is a good idea overall. Green continued their expansion. This is as far as they can go until the Ice Age ends. But they want to be off the ice shelf when it ends. And they also moved up to Kamchatka in order to help block that path. They want to be the only people playing over there, just like they're going to be the only people playing over here. Now, they got their population high enough that they had to make a chaos roll. They got it higher than a 1, so they're okay. But as their population grows higher and higher, they could be in danger here. The goal at this point is to get themselves into a golden age, so when they slip into chaos, they can drive into the next era. Black grabbed an Era 2 card. Good idea, bad idea, hard to tell. It turned out to be a bad idea. They wanted to get a jump on everyone else, but the card they drew, they could reduce their population, which they don't want to do. Or they could bump their naval up to 2. If they're already at 1. Well, they're not at 1, and maybe they should have grabbed rafts because boats seem very important to them. They're the humanists now, and both navies are always of importance to them. So they're going to have to rethink what they did. In terms of population advance, there's not much they can do. They can't get animals. They don't have the values for them. They could move over here. That had that option before. There's just nowhere they can go that's useful to them, though. All right, so on to red. Well, red got a biddable card. The Pharaoh. Hard to tell what this all does. It looks like it has an event, a disease. So that's going to happen first. Only gets 1 innovation, and he drew a level 2. So let's see. This indicates the drawing player and a neighbor of his choice get disease, as indicated by the arrow. The stricken player advances by 1 on the immunology track. Well, a stricken player, so he gets to choose this. He loses an elder, and 2 fecundity increases. What's up with that? Does he lose them? Yeah, see, the wording there, he loses an elder, he suffers 1 elder loss, page 8, and 2 fecundity increases. So I guess his population goes up. He loses an elder, which he could have put anywhere. Put it down here on population to reduce the overall effect. He gets to pick someone else. Let's make sure. Yeah, I guess he just suffers fecundity increases. Alright, and he gets to pick what? A neighbor. Now, neighbor is underlined. To me, that means it's defined somewhere. I don't think he has any. I think it has to be someone you share an area with. But, you know, there we go. Neighbor. Map units in the same hex or an adjacent hex. Or in this hex, we got a neighbor here in green then, and we got a neighbor in blue. Overall, I think this is a good thing. So I'm going to hit blue with it, because I don't want to help green any more than he already is. So he gets an increase, and see, this is the problem. He doesn't pay a price for it because he doesn't have an elder. But do I really want to give it to green? Green might collapse if this happens. Alright, we'll give it to green instead. 2 fecundity increases, and he loses a little wooden block, which I'll put down here, because I think that's optional. Okay, now it's biddable. If people want this, and it's worth 2 what? Requires the rank of the best. Okay, so this helps your stability. So green would love this, and they would have really wanted to bid on this, so it's a good thing that they didn't get it. Who else? Is anyone else terribly interested in it? Because if they're not, red will get it. Well, let's see how the bidding works. I don't know if it's ordered or otherwise. All players may participate. Each player may call out his bid, not exceeding. The minimum bid is 1, and the bid numbers may match. A player may increase his bid. The high bidder is awarded the card. What do you mean a bidders may match if the high bidder... Okay. Who's identifier? Okay, so here's... This is kind of like in Megafauna. Some players have an advantage here. So N would get this if it's bid on. Now, if nobody bids on it, I thought the person who drew it got it, and that's what I did. Bugger. If nobody bids on it, it's awarded to the current player. Yeah. Okay, so only if people bid on it does this take place. So really the question here is, does one want to bid on it? Do they want this card? They have no board presence, but how many points is it worth? Is it worth 1 towards the end or 2? I think it's worth 2. So, oh, is it important to them? See, now they don't get points for this, right? They get points for stars and kneeling people or something. Is that all? I thought it was by the letters, but the letters don't seem to be it. It seems to be the victory conditions are listed over here. So he would get points for this one, he would get points for that, he would get points for stars, he gets points for information, and he gets points for stars. Okay. So this isn't worth victory points to him of any kind. I don't think he's interested in it. Is Black interested in it? Black doesn't have a lot of population and doesn't think he's going to for a while. It's not worth victory points. On the other hand, that's storyteller. Economic stimulation would be the way to do this. Yeah, everybody's going to pass on it, and Red's going to get it for free. And they become the pharaohs. Again, this is a thinking thing where it's not really clear how valuable one of these is. Alright, well, let's go onward. That was the play cards. Stability roll. He's got a stability roll, but he can't fail because he's got this, and he's awfully happy about that. Other people don't have much population or didn't have an elder to spend on it. Now he can take a population action, and I'll stop there, take that action, and think about White's turn. Okay, well, we got some weird things here. So, White drew a new card, Spoked Wheel, and I went and looked at these rules and found some stuff. Stuff I didn't see. So first of all, this I that I've been ignoring. If you've got this on the top of your discard pile, like some of these people do, you can take higher era cards. That's only really in effect right now by stealing them from the top of someone else's discard. Okay, that hasn't happened yet, so it's not really an issue. Except that if someone ransacks, if someone attacks you, you get to ransack a card from the top of their discard pile. And we've been seeing attacks back and forth, and I'm sure some of them happened with that, where cards could have ended up in someone else's hand for free. Didn't happen. Pity. Okay. Then I saw this, and this is new to this deck. Barbarian Raids. If you play this, you can make a barbarian attack against a neighbor, causing the victim to forfeit a public card or lose an elder, his choice. Cards used to make the barbarian raid and the public cards lost are taken out of the game completely. They can also have the effect of ending enslavement, see some other page. Well, White wants to end enslavement, so we'll see that page, but here's the thing. Okay, this is a dude, and that's fine. That can be an elder. I understand that. That looks like an elder reduction in order to... There's an animal on there with a minus. And I am just not seeing a damn thing to indicate... Oh, here, well, another page. Wait. Maybe, maybe not. Animal husbandry allows domestication attempt. That's... Oh! Okay. So this would give him a free domestication attempt, and he'd have a -1 to the die roll, I think. That's not absolutely clear there, but it probably is in the example. Yeah. So, here's the problem, though. If he did a domestication, he'd still need the things that he doesn't have. So that's not interesting to him. So let's look at page 15 for ending enslavement with a barbarian raid. Wonder where that is. Oh wait, did blue... Yeah. So, if blue gains anything, white gets it too, and the same the other way. Well, I'm going to have to look a little more carefully. I can't read as well with the camera in hand. Well, the barbarian raid could end the enslavement, but I think that would just destroy white as a player. Normally what would happen is, well, if the slave were contained in a metropolis, he could come out and attack. But because he was enslaved while not in a metropolis, he's not actually under. He doesn't have any map units from what I can see. So here, slave population growth, only in the metropolis hexes of the slaver. The placement is on top, in which case the attack occurs. If they have none, then no slave population. Okay, so that's the normal revolt or population growth. Here, if either the slaver or enslaved makes a barbarian raid upon the other, the slaver goes into chaos, or is himself enslaved, then instantly the enslavement comes to an end, dissolving all slavery rules and putting all the enslaved units into siege against the metropolis of the former slave society. Well, somewhere it talked about... God, this thing is horrible. I don't know. Somewhere it talked about enslavement. If you're in a metropolis, if the last unit's in a metropolis, it ends up staying under the enslaving unit, and if it's not, it goes away off the map. I'll try to find that rule. I can't find it now. Of course, maybe it's somewhere in the German. No. I've got no idea where it was. And I thought it was on this page, which is where slavery is covered, right? But looking at these rules is just so irritating to me. Well, I looked at rules here and online, and I can't find any resolution to it. My feeling is as long as there's no metropolis, the slaves can't be lost. So he's a slave until something like chaos happens, which sucks for him, right? Alright, so that barbarian card is useless to him. Does he want to hold it for other things? Yeah, maybe. It doesn't really hurt to hold a card. He can't really do a population action until blue creates a metropolis. At least not a useful one. So, I guess he'll just have to pass.